Hello everybody, today we'll be studying Chapter 5. Chapter 5 we'll be studying document design. Now in this chapter, in previous chapter basically, we talk about how to write the technical writing. We began from actually defining purpose and analyzing the audience, then collecting all the information, then we write the first draft, then we revise the draft and edit the draft until we are satisfied with our writing. This chapter is rather more technical area where we are trying to design the document. So this chapter has basically a little different from previous chapter. In the previous chapter, it was something the process that what we do to write the document. Here, we are trying to make the documents look better. And of course, actually, when you are communicating, your either proposal, memo, or report, or business plan to other people, you don't actually write, you don't do handwriting. You will be using, normally we begin with the Microsoft Word. And Microsoft Word has a lot of functions actually which you can use to decorate your document look better. And we're going to actually go through some of the very technical Microsoft Word, basically how to use Microsoft Word. And I'm not really a technical person myself, so actually the best way to, best place to actually find those information would be either you Google it or you actually go into YouTube and you search the mode, search for document design. Then you will find many actually videos, supporting videos, explain all the functions of Microsoft Word. So we're going to actually watch a few videos together because I'm not the best person to explain about the Microsoft Word. When we find actually very informative videos in YouTube, and you can actually do that yourself. So nowadays, actually, when you have a new software, when you have, you don't know how to use that software, best thing is just Google it, type basically how to use this software, then it will direct you to certain sites. It could be basically instructive video from Microsoft themselves, or it could be instructive video by some user. And nowadays, we are sharing all these informations together. So there are enough materials out there. And in the old time, when you are stuck with something you don't know, some new product, new software, you are stuck. You don't know what to do. But nowadays, in the age of internet, we all share the information together. So you can always go into internet and search for some instruction or some video, or even you can get some comments from your friends using Facebook or Twitter and all that. So let's, before I begin a little further, let's watch the YouTube video defining what does it mean by document design. So, like other lecture that I did previously, we try to find the, relevant video in YouTube, and I found actually a couple of them in YouTube, which it will enlighten you what do they mean by document design. So let me go to the first video, and probably this one. And as you can see, even the make it bigger. The title even itself is designing pages and documents. and it is a guide for technical writer. And I think this is pretty informative. Let's watch them together.
Differences between essay writing, as you might have done in Writing 121, and technical writing is that the appearance of your document matters in technical writing. So for an example, in Writing 121, if your paper is typed, the font is a reasonable size, and you haven't spilled too much coffee on it, it's fine. But in technical writing, every document you create contains both the intellectual or written content and also the visual content. And that's what I'm going to talk about here in designing pages and documents. This is a bad layout. To avoid that kind of layout, you want to keep these design goals in mind. Design elements guide the reader through the text. They allow the reader to immediately get to the information he or she wants. And that's important because nobody reads technical writing for fun. If you pick up a Stephen King novel, the assumption is you're going to start at the beginning and read through to the end. But if you pick up a How to Use Microsoft Office manual, chances are you're just going to open it up and try and find the piece of information you want and then move on. It's the technical writer's job to make that easy for you. It's also the technical writer's job to make sure the reader doesn't miss any important information, like safety information. So here's some basic principles of page design. These principles apply to just about every document you create for this class, even emails. First of all, use white space. Make sure each paragraph meets its purpose. Use lists. Highlight important information. Use headings. Use tables and grids and columns. And always keep your design elements consistent. This may seem like a kind of obvious observation to make, but if you don't apply your formatting or design elements consistently, they lose all value or purpose. They become unreadable to the audience. First, let's talk about white space. That's the white page around the text. The proper use of white space is key. Too much makes a document look juvenile or amateurish. Think about a children's book and how much white space surrounds the text, how few words go on each page. That's good for young readers, but you wouldn't expect that in a college-level textbook. On the flip side, I think everybody has gotten a college-level textbook that looked a bit like this. And if you're like me, you probably didn't say, gosh, I really want to read that. Because it looks impenetrable, dense, confusing, hard to navigate. Now let's say you've got the white space just right. Not too much, not too little. Now think about paragraph structure. It's very important that each paragraph addresses one and only one main point. Best way to do this is to start with a topic sentence that describes the content of the paragraph, add whatever content you need beneath that, and then transition into the next paragraph. This is fairly standard writing. You've probably seen this model in Writing 121 or Writing 115, but it's good to know that this model still applies in technical writing, perhaps even more so than in other writing classes. If you're thinking about Writing 121, you may remember putting in a bulleted list somewhere in your essay, and your writing teacher might have said, no, don't put any lists in, explain everything in paragraph form. Well, that rule has just changed. If you can say something effectively with a list, use that tool in technical writing. Remember, bulleted lists contain items that have no particular order. In green, you see 4 elements of design. It doesn't matter what order I put them in. And on the other side of the screen, you see a list with numbers, and the numbers indicate items that are chronological. So there's no point in waiting for the fire department before you have exited the building. You can't very well gather in a meeting place for the fire drill or the fire if you haven't pulled the fire alarm. So it's important that these things fall in the order that they're presented. Font matters in technical writing. Start all technical documents with a standard font and size, something like Times New Roman, Calibri, Arial, Garamond, and start with a standard size, 10 to 12 points. Avoid using fancy fonts. Avoid using multiple fonts in the same document. Using too many fonts in the same document makes your document look a little bit like one of those ransom notes you see in old movies. People cut each letter out of a different newspaper and it comes out looking all jumbled. And avoid writing in all caps. Now maybe there's some information you really want to draw attention to. You can do this by using what's called highlighting. This includes bold, italics, a larger font, underlining, colored font, boxes, also lines and arrows. There are various different methods of highlighting. These are very effective, but they are more effective if you use them less frequently. If I write one word in red, that word stands out immediately. If I write my whole page in red, it doesn't matter. One of the typical methods of highlighting and also organizing a technical document is the use of headings. Headings divide your document into sections. So if you look at a textbook, or a phone book, or a computer manual, or a set of instructions, you're going to notice it's not one big chunk of text like an essay. There are individual headings that separate that information into chunks so the reader can go right to the chunk they need. We talk about headings as being divided by levels. Level 1 is the major heading. Maybe in a document of 20 pages, you'll get 1 to 5 level 1 headings. These divide the document into its largest sections. Beneath each level 1 heading, you may get several level 2 headings. These divide a large piece of information like background into subsections. In a longer document, you can also have level 3 and 4 headings, again just subdividing the information into smaller and smaller pieces. Headings are distinguished by their size, their position on the page, and their style. Upper level headings always need to be more prominent than the lower level headings beneath them. Headings should also be grammatically consistent by level, so that all level 1 headings are grammatically the same. All level 2 headings are grammatically the same. What do I mean by that? I mean if your first level 1 heading is a question, like what should we do, then all subsequent level 1 headings should also be questions. If your first level 2 heading is just a functional description of the type of information in that section, something like information or background or facts, findings, then every heading at that level should be a grammatically consistent descriptor of type of information. So here you've got a list that is not grammatically consistent and then one that is. So in summary, when you're designing your page, you want to use adequate white space. You want to design each paragraph to meet its purpose and focus on one main idea. Use lists, if that seems appropriate. Highlight key information, but don't overuse highlighting. Use headings. Use grids, tables, and columns. And always apply these features consistently.
Okay, basically now we got what it means by designing the documents. basically simply designing documents is making your documents look good for the readers. And in the compared to academic writing, technical writing, most people will only read the certain portion that that is related to their work. So we have to actually make it easy for a reader to pick up the portion that is related to their work and easy for them to digest that information. Let's see. Let me actually go into our PowerPoint at this time. So basically, in this chapter, you will learn elements of document design, computers in document design process, which is very important because whenever we actually transmit our document to other people, we will always use word processor, always type it. Then we can basically design it, make it headings, use different font, different even colors, and different spacing, and that will make basically page much more professional and easier to read. Then you talk about font that we just talked about. Navigation means how to go to from page 1 to page maybe 5, 6, where you want reader to actually read, from going from the beginning to back, back and forth. And also designing digital documents simply means using Microsoft Word or even some special software for to design the documents. Okay, so actually this book talks about from very fundamental idea about elements of document design. It talks about consistent in design and color. So let's say if you have a 10 pages report, basically those 10 pages should have a consistent design, and even when you choose a color, basically the color should be consistent. Let's say when you have a certain topics or headings, you use the red color, then when you say level 1, level 2, level 3, those headings should have a same color, not different color. It will just confuse the reader. They might question that, oh, am I, is there missing pages, or am I missing something? So even for the consistent design, talk about, style sheet, style manual, and template. Some company actually have some templates for memo. When they send a memo, they have a certain already designed memo sheet. You just need to put that out from company's, intranet. Then you can actually just put the memo and send in. And even for the fax machine, a lot of companies have their fax sheet front cover, which has their logo, sending to whom, sending to from, sending, so they already have a certain format they are using. So if the company already have certain design format, you might as well use it. Or if they don't have it, as a technical writer, you might want to design one for the company to use. Again, we talk about color. Color convey tone, mood, image. And basically, whatever catch people's readers' attention, you like to choose the color. Let's say if you choose the color, very dark color, you just make your documents very gloomy and doesn't give you positive image. So if you are trying to get somebody's positive attention, you might like to use more bright color rather than very dark colors. Again, now we are in computers in document design process, talking about style sheet templates. And nowadays, computers basically are the professional designers probably already have all the necessary functions in basically computers. you know, like Microsoft have so many functions in there that they can imagine that people need, so they already have all the functions. Let's watch one of the video which describe Microsoft functions helping the document design. I believe this will be this one. This one basically, as you can see, the title here is, this is basically, Microsoft Word has 2007 and they have 2010, and I think the newest version might be 2013. But this video using Microsoft 2007 is a make your document look great. And that's what we are trying to achieve in this chapter. We like to make our document look great. Let's watch the video and get some idea how to use Microsoft Word to make the documents look great. Okay, let's begin here.
In 2007, you can quickly and easily turn a plain-looking document like this into one that looks professionally designed like this. Here's how. Start the makeover by using styles to quickly format major elements in your document, such as headings, titles, and subtitles. If you've highlighted the text you want to change, just pause the pointer over any style to see a live preview directly in your document. To apply the style that's most appropriate for your text, just click it. Even if it doesn't look the way you want right now, don't worry. Because when you're done applying styles to the individual elements, Word lets you change the look of your whole document all at once. It's easy. In the Styles group, click Change Styles to use a set of coordinated styles. You'll find great-looking predefined style sets here, such as formal, modern, or simple. Again, when you find the look you want, click it. Notice that the style types you applied previously to the individual bits of text look completely different when a different style set is applied. You can even make this style set the default for all your future documents, so all your documents will have a consistent look. Text like this, that's in columns and rows. You can make it easier to read by converting it into a table. To do that, first select the text that you want to convert. On the Insert tab in the Tables group, click Table. Then click Convert Text to Table. Make sure the table settings look correct. Click OK, and there it is. Now that the text is in a table, notice how it stands out more, so it's easy to spot when browsing the document. By the way, did you see these table tools? They appear when the table is selected. Use the commands on the Design and Layout tabs to change how the table looks. Click the Design tab, and in the Table Styles group, just browse the table styles and choose the one you want. Click the More button to see even more styles. Then choose the one you want, click away from the table, and the table tools conveniently disappear. Now, take a look at this area of the document that discusses charity events. A diagram that describes the giving process would be effective here, so click the Insert tab, click Smart Art, a cool new feature of Word 2007. You can find great diagram choices here. You're looking for a graphic that illustrates a process. This upward arrow will work well. Add text to the graphic by clicking Text Pane, Type, Donate, Volunteer, Participate. Then click Text Pane again to close it. Now, use the Smart Art tools that appear when the art is selected to customize the appearance of the graphic. First, change the graphic style. In the Smart Art Styles group, click the More button, and then click Polished. size the graphic so it fits nicely on the page. Make your text wrap around it by setting Square Text Wrapping. On the Format tab, in the Arrange group, click Text Wrapping, click Square, and that's it. Position the graphic, and you're done. The Smart Art tools disappear. Now, add a header to the document. On the Insert tab, in the Header and Footer group, Header, to choose from a variety of pre-designed headers. For this document, choose this one. It includes art, a date placeholder, and the document title. Just change the date on the calendar, and the header is complete. See the header and footer tools that appear when you're in the header? Use these to customize the header and footer the way you want. To exit the header, just double-click it. Double-click it again to modify the header anytime. You can insert and modify footers in the same manner. Go to the Insert tab where you can add a nice finishing touch, a cover page. In the Pages group, click Cover Page. Choose the style you want, and Word inserts the cover page and its elements. This cover page includes the document title, subtitle, and other elements. Delete any elements you don't need by selecting them and pressing Delete. Add the subtitle, and there you go. Easy. With Word 2007, your documents go from ho-hum to wow in minutes.
Okay, that was one of the video that I found in YouTube. And basically, other than what we just saw, you can actually find many more videos in YouTube which will explain you actually many more functions and anything you want to find. Actually, this video, which we will look at lastly, this one basically also was basically designed by Microsoft Word, and they talk about heading formatting and table contents. And basically that is more redundant, technical, basically a video we'll be watching later on. So before we do that, let me go back to PowerPoint and see what is left in this chapter. So here basically we talk about computers in document design. As we have seen in Microsoft Word, basically already have enough program for you to use, and you can basically make your heading look good, even put some pictures, diagram, table. So the more functions you understand in basically Microsoft Word, it will help you to make a better design of your documents. And elements of page design, basically GRIS and white paper list. In our previous video, I think probably the first one, we talk about how to use the white space, list, and GRIS. Now in GRIS, basically, you can make it use double columns to break up long line, use ample white space between in-text graphics and design and text, and place in text graphic near the top of the page, and even place graphic on its own page when necessary, and pay special attention to page balance and use only one dominant element per page. And you can see that in the Microsoft Word, you can actually use different type of GRIS. This is basically 2-column GRIS. This is 3-column GRIS with basically 2-column wide illustration. And this one basically single column GRIS with headings and basically lines it with a different margin. And this is another format, basically, standard business, basically, correspondence format you can choose in the Word as well. White space means how much do you want to fill in the white space. Now, normally in the professional document, you don't really want to leave too much white space, but you don't want to have too many pictures and too many words in there because it's just distract people, the reader. So to attract attention, you have to have enough space of white space, and you need to guide the eyes to important information on the page, and relieve the boredom of reading text, which means put some pictures or graphic, and have reader organize the information by putting in some tables. Now margin, we all know what margin is. Margin is basically something, beginning margin, end margin. In academic basically writing, we normally use 1 inch to 1.5 inch for most of document. And some document we use more space on left margin for binding, so to bind the core document, and use more space from bottom of pages. So basically, when somebody binds the document, it will look like this one with the binder machine, and the margin will be enough space between here. Okay, now in white space, block of text to emphasize reader and bulleted and number list, it will more look like this one. Basically, we will have enough white space and some block of certain topics, and you will have a title, and people can simply read it. If this is basically some type of using manual, it will be like if it's basically Samsung telephone, it will be how to maybe download the information, how to transfer the information, certain topic, and explanation how to use that function. And in the white space, basically line pacing, so it could be single pacing, or it could be double pacing, or 1.5 pacing. So basically line spacing will look like this is a double spacing, and basically here, as you can see, Microsoft, you can have there's a function to inline the right edge. Here the right edge is in and out. It doesn't look good, but when you can make actually right edge basically or justify, basically it look more professional. Then here we have indented paragraph. Indented paragraph means paragraph, when you start a new paragraph, you have about 5 spaces toward the right, but some of the document you don't have no indenting paragraph on this format. So there is no really any rule, whichever look good and make your reader to understand easy, you can choose that format. Okay, so we talk about basically justification on the right side and use basically double space, single space. Here again, when we say justification, we are talking about justification on the right edge. In this, when you compare these two actually documents, this is if this has the same content, this look more professional because it's on the right side. Basically, margin is justified, and this one they don't. So basically, these right side is not even, but this one has indented paragraph, and this one they don't. Okay, sometimes paragraph. How long do you want to write each paragraph? And basically, normally we need to give readers the chance to regroup, means chance to give up, they can rest a little bit, then move on to next topic. So depends on whether this is a simple subject or complicated subject. We have to actually make a paragraph length, either short, sometimes a little longer. So this will be how the paragraph length look like. When somebody tries to read this document from beginning to end, there's no time to rest. But when you actually separate the paragraph in 4 different areas, and basically it will make it easier for reader to read and move on to next level. But whenever you actually move from one paragraph to another, you got to have a transition word to connect those 2 paragraphs. Okay, talk about the indenting and talk about heading space, ruling. Now these are that basically will be discussed in the Microsoft Word instruction. And we talk about headings and footers. Even the Microsoft Word have, it has the function how to put a basically footnote at the bottom of the page. List means how to put the the list of the information. It can be either a dot and you can have information, or it can be basically with the numbering. And when you actually make a list, points to consider is typically use number of item, use a bullet and number, format on page, parallelism, and punctuation. Those are more technical side, but let's just keep that in mind. Then it's something you have to decide. Font, what kind of font you want to use, and you have to also decide font style and font size. Size of the typing, whether you want to use a 10-point or 12-point, the standard basically point is 12 points. And font effect, you can make it bold or you can